Okay, welcome back to the Are You Strong show. I can't wait to introduce this guest to you guys today. He's from my alma mater, which is exciting to talk about. He played there, he's coaching there. We're going to talk about all his experiences there. But let me tell you a little bit about him. He's a UMaine grad 2010. Okay. And when he graduated from University of Maine as a football player, he was an all-conference player, team MVP, helped his team get to the NCAA playoffs, which is a big feat. You don't find too many schools doing that. But after graduation, he stayed home at Maine, coached there from 2011 to 2015. Learned a lot under, I think, Coach Cosgrove, right? Then moved on to Yale and had a great experience there from 2015 to 2021. Worked his way up to the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator, which is really cool. You can't get much higher than that. There's only one more spot, right? And then, yeah, after winning, had his Ivy League championship, gets tapped on the shoulder to become the head coach at the University of Maine, his alma mater, my alma mater, which is so cool. I don't know what it's like to play there, coach there, and then come back and be the head coach there. It's got to be so cool. But welcome to the show, head coach Jordan Stevens.
Jeff, thank you so much for having me on. Really excited to be on with a Black Bear,
Yeah.
and congratulations to you on all your success with your podcast and everything you're doing in the finance world as well. And just really thrilled to be on here with you and talk Maine football.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm excited to have you on here. There's so many things I want to talk about. I have a ton of questions to ask you, but before I do that, if you don't mind, just tell the audience just a little bit about yourself so they get a feel for who you are.
Yeah, I was born and raised in the state of Maine in a small town in Western Maine called Temple, Maine. I try to make sure I represent this small community well, and went to a high school right there in that community, Mount Blue High School, and um, yeah, I had a really humble beginnings. My father worked, construction in the summer. Then he was a logger, right, in the winter, and worked in the woods, and then moved into the paper mill near us, and that's really where my family has a background in, especially on my mom's side. Is her father works in the paper mills here in the state of Maine, and my uncles as well, and so really that industry, which is really been depleted here in the state of Maine. That's what I come from. And my mom is heavily involved in our community. She's owned a salon in our town for 40 years. And I think every teacher I had growing up went to my mom to get their haircut. So, just really humble beginnings. And from there, graduating from there and going on to play here at the University of Maine, I did take a pit stop at Bridgeton Academy here in the state of Maine, and did that really just to enhance my recruiting. So, I have a similar story to a lot of our players where, I wasn't highly recruited out of high school, need an extra year to mature physically, and really academically, and Bridgeton Academy provided me that opportunity, and really feel like it was the best decision I've made in my life, was going there, because it really changed the direction I was going. I was fortunate to receive a scholarship offer to come here to play football, and that was really a dream of mine and a goal of mine. So, was able to come here to the University of Maine, and as a player, and then start my coaching career. Met my wife here at the University of Maine. She's from the state of Maine as well. We have two kids. We have a daughter who's 7, Noella, and my son is 3, Carson. So we're running around with them, and we're
Yep.
really thrilled to be back here at the University of Maine.
That's awesome. So you said the paper mills. I'll never forget the smell of the paper mills in August. I think it was August 10th, 1983, my first day on campus. It's a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
And we had the black flies eating us to death, right? And then the smell in the morning of wherever the paper mills,
Yeah.
I can still smell it today.
Oh yeah. You knew what town you were in. That was an old town, but you knew what town you were in Maine if you could smell the
Yeah.
paper mills,
Yeah.
but very
It, it,
distinct.
it seems like the smell of the grass, the bite of the flies, and the smell of the paper mills. It's
There you
like
go.
yesterday,
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a funny story. It's all about hazing, right? I mean it in a good way. When you showed up as a freshman, I don't know if they still do it, but you didn't know about the bugs. You didn't know about the black flies, and you can tell who the freshmen were with all the bites on their arms and the legs
Oh,
because all
yeah.
the upperclassmen had the spray.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
would come in, and you're like, they came in with these boxes of spray, like what's with that? And then when we wanted some, hey, can we borrow that? No. Can we
Yeah.
have something like, nope.
Yeah.
So then when I come back a sophomore year, what do you think I'm bringing with me?
Yeah.
I'm
You got
bringing the
it. Yeah.
bug spray, right?
Yeah.
And the freshmen come in, hey, can we have some of that? Like, nope.
Yeah. Yeah. And for
That's
yourself.
as yeah, that's as far as we got with hazing,
Yeah.
which was pretty good. But Jordan, let me ask you this. I ask all the guests on the show, when did you know that you had the ability to play at the D1 level? Was that you realized that people started telling you and you're like 10, hey, you could be a good player here, or did it evolve over time? Next thing you know, you're a junior, senior in high school, like I got a shot, I'm gonna go to the academy first and then go. Like when did you realize that?
Yeah. I think I always wanted that for myself, to play at the Division I level, and in particular playing here at the University of Maine. Um, but it really took me until I was at Bridgeton Academy my prep year, where I had just a lot more confidence as an athlete. Probably grew into my body another year, and I think it was after the first couple of games there of that season, that I knew I could play at the Division I level because I was playing with a lot more student athletes and teammates that were from outside the state of Maine. I think that's always a thing. Like, how do I measure myself if I'm in
Yeah,
this small community, and I don't have a lot of exposure? And it gave me a little bit more exposure, and with that came confidence and the realization, like, yeah, I can do this, and I can not only play at that level, but I can contribute and be an impact player on that team. So I think it was really that prep year that gave me that solidifying confidence to go play at the
right.
next level.
Now, were there other guys from that school that came with you to Maine?
No, there wasn't. We had on the roster there, we probably had 10 Division I players, FCS football to group of five players on the roster, but no one came here with me.
No. Who
Yeah.
went to like the biggest school? You remember?
Yeah, I think we had you know, the year before me, there was a player there that went to Michigan State.
Okay.
We had guys at Arizona. Within my class, guys at Hofstra,
Yeah.
um, New Hampshire. My roommate played football in New Hampshire.
That's
Uh,
not good.
no, no, that was my roommate, my guy. And then he was playing the opposite side of the ball, so he's trying to block me and everything. And yeah, I had a lot of good experience playing with some guys that within the CAA for my time at.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah,
So tell me, you walk on campus. That was 2007, your freshman year?
2006. Yeah.
2006. Tell me about the experience. You walk in there, you're a freshman. What was that like? Walking in there, seeing these guys that are seniors, fifth year seniors, you're 18 years old, 19 years old. These guys are 22, 23. They got 3, 4 years of bulking up in the gym. What was
Mhm.
that like walking in and seeing those guys?
I mean, I have a vivid memory of being up here for the spring game, even before that point, and walking in the weight room. They were doing some screening on us, like the incoming freshmen. We came up for the spring game. I saw Montel Owens, if you know Montel, I mean, he waited till his last year here in Maine to become a starter at running back. Then he went on to have a Pro Bowl career for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I remember walking into the weight room because he had already finished playing, and he was getting ready for the draft, and walking and just seeing him, like, I think he was on like the neck machine, and just
Yeah.
seeing the size of him and
Yeah.
seeing how physically developed he was. And I was thinking to myself how much work I have to do to develop my body to be someone that could contribute on the field or get to the next level and play in the
Yeah.
NFL.
It's funny you say the neck machine. I was a defensive back, and it was all about the neck machine.
Yeah,
Who's on the neck machine? How big can you get your neck going? Like, and how strong can you get your neck?
yeah,
Because you
yeah.
think about it, your neck's on a lot of everything.
Yeah, but yeah, it's you don't see them as much, like, especially when you're dealing with like smaller weight rooms, or you're fighting for space. There's other
Yeah.
ways to get that done, but um I just, I had a great experience my first year with a lot of players that were prominent players within our program history. You're talking about Mike DeVito,
Yeah.
was on that roster. Matt King, who's an All-American.
Yep.
Um, Darren Stone, Andrew Downey. Ron Wickham had been a starter for 4 years
Yep.
here.
How
So
about was Stephen Cooper on your team?
he was not. Stephen Cooper was 3, 4 years before me.
Okay.
But but a lot of players who played with him, and the impact that and the leadership and the commitment that he had still resonated within the
Yeah.
program.
I mean, he went on to play what, 15, 14, 15 years?
Yeah, he had a great career with the San Diego Chargers,
Yeah.
and
And
really,
one stop, one team for all that time. That's like unheard of.
yeah, I know, and he's really been I mean, he was out here a couple of summers ago. I was talking to our team, and such a great leader, and a guy who loves the University of Maine and still
Yeah.
is around and wants to contribute and help. And he's someone that's made an impact even
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. He and I chatted via Instagram last week
Oh, great.
because I saw he did a post. Somebody said something in the group chat that we're all in
Yeah,
about 15 years or something, and because his career. And so I just reached out to him. Hey, let's get you on the show. He's like, I'll do it. Let's go.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in incredible shape right now. So,
I can only
he
imagine. I
looks
mean,
like he
he's
still
still,
play.
you guys are still young,
Yeah,
compared to me, you guys are young.
yeah, you're looking good.
Uh, yeah, I'll tell you, I might look good, but the bumps and bruises and they're paying. I'm paying the price today. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know, so tell me what's in your years at Maine as a player. What's the most memorable thing that stands out for you?
Um, yeah, I think, on the field, my junior year, I think one of our biggest accomplishments was we went to UMass, and beat UMass at UMass. At that point, they had just come off a season where they played in the national championship, and we had lost them by 1 point the previous was it a previous year, or previous 2 years before that, and but just a really big program win for us, and just the feeling and seeing how hard the team had worked because we hadn't been in the playoffs since back in 2002, and that was now we're in 2008, so that was a big pivotal point for us where I felt the team have just a ton of confidence and togetherness coming out of that. And we did it really in like a main fashion where we ran the ball for over 250 yards. And, that was really an impact there. Just holistically for me, my biggest just memory of being here as a player was probably my just relationship with my teammates, developed some lifelong relationships with, had a great group of guys around me. And then my relationship with Coach Cosgrove was one that has served me in a huge way, even today. And, always resonated with him. He resonated with me, and
Yep.
his approach and his commitment and his toughness that he spoke with, and his commitment. I got to see both sides as a player, then as a coach. And
Yeah.
I spoke to him even a couple weeks ago, and like I used to even, when I got here, my first year we went to the quarterfinals. Then the next year we had a 500 year. Then 2013 we won the conference outright. So for me to come into the program, we're having some success right away.
Yeah.
But every win was such a big deal to him, and I think I might have at that time wondered, hey, like let's keep our head down and keep working here. But being on this side where he sat, you realize all the sacrifices, all the work that goes into competing to win a football game. And it's so when that moment happens, I certainly understand now and appreciate just how thrilled he was for everyone in the program, and thrilled he was for just Maine football
Yeah.
on that Saturday.
Yeah. Can let me ask you this question. Can you explain to the public what it feels like to be out on a football field playing at your peak and winning? Can you explain that? Can you describe it?
Yeah, it's I feel like it really is something where it's like where all your preparation, it meets your opportunities, and you're just making the most of all your opportunities that day, and um yeah, I always felt like practice was harder than games, and I felt like I always had coaches that got me ready to play, and
Yeah.
I never felt like I went into a game here at the University of Maine where I wasn't prepared. So I
Right.
think like that feeling when you're uh, having success, or you're winning more of those battles than not,
Yeah.
you know that feeling is really unmatched in terms
Yeah.
of and football provides a physical component too, so
Yep.
it's not just a level. It is that, but also there's a physical will that comes into it. So it has a deeper impact
Yeah.
between you and your teammates because there was a
Yeah.
physical commitment to playing that game. And
Right.
there was a physical, you could look at it as a sacrifice, but you got to make a decision every play in terms of how hard you're going to play in the game of football. And I think knowing that you're on the on top in those battles, I mean, it's just a remarkable feeling.
Yeah. I say it's a euphoric state,
Yeah,
right? And I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah,
I can feel it right now as you're describing it, right? It puts me right
yeah.
back a gazillion years ago. But if you try to explain that to somebody who's never played, like they don't
Mhm,
get it. Like,
mhm.
ah, what do you mean? You know?
Yeah, yeah,
And I know exactly what you're talking about. So you mentioned it before, but what was your mindset out there? Again, just sticking the player side for now
yeah,
while you were playing. What was your mindset every game? What was it like to be out there, the mindset, the focus? What were you thinking when you're out there?
yeah. I think from the time I was young, competing in sports, whether it was for me, it was I grew up playing football, ski racing, and playing baseball. Like whatever it was really just giving all of my effort. And when that came to how to play football, like I really wanted to be as physical of a player as I could be, and that was something that um, I wanted to, really be able to carry me through a game was like my level of physicality. And so that was something like I always had in me since I was young. It was that physical part of the game and commitment to playing in a physical way. And I think that always suited me well. And I've even had conversations with some of my former teammates that I went against every day, and they even talk about that consistency, in which I played with. Um, and I think that's something that I could say I was proud of. It was just like the willingness and the physical toughness to show up every day, every practice, and compete at a high level. Um, because that takes a commitment, like I said.
Right. Can you talk about that? And I don't think that the I don't know how to explain it, the traditional student, right, who's never been
Mhm.
out there. It's the physicality that the football players go through every day
Mm.
on the practice field to get ready for the game. Because all the people really see is the game. They see the
Mhm.
glitz, the glamour, the fun, the win, right? They don't see the prep.
Right.
Can you talk about that from a player's perspective? And then we'll
Mhm.
hit it from a coaching perspective, right? But
Yeah.
can you talk about the prep these guys go through to get
Yeah.
ready for that war on the field?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing that I don't think there's nothing that compares to maybe it's wrestling. That's what I can think of. Where like you, especially for these guys that are playing in the box. Like if you have any role in the box, you are pressing and pushing against someone, and then from there running 20 yards, consistently.
Yeah.
So it's like you're starting off the first 3 seconds by pushing against another man, and then uh, and then you're straining to run as fast as you can in one direction. You're doing that repetitively, and that certainly takes its toll. I think nothing compares to like the feeling after a football game of the bumps, the bruises, and getting yourself back refocused for another week. And I think that's where the best teams separate themselves is the ability to have that competitive stamina week after week, day after day. From a player standpoint, our players are you're constantly having that self-talk to get yourself ready to go every day. And I think and that's where you find out, and I think from a coaching standpoint, just to go there for a moment, it's you're always trying to find guys who love football
Yeah.
because, on the flip side, back to being a student athlete and being a football player at the college level, I mean, you have to love the game to be committed to going out to practice on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And be self-motivated to do that because you're going to have to go hit on Tuesday. You're going to hit a little bit on Wednesday. It's going to pull back on Thursday. You're getting your body back and you're going again on Saturday. So that preparation and the discipline to take care of your body is daily, and the discipline to get your rest and discipline to um, be available and be dependable for your team on Saturday is really what your teammates and coaches are counting on you to be able to do.
Yeah. How about are you guys doing 5 a.m. workouts? or
We do
no?
6 a.m. workouts. We don't
6 a.
go.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Talk about those. I mean, that's tough to get up for and go to. You know,
Hmm.
you like you said, you have to have preparation, discipline, consistency, all the right words. But man, just to get there, just to walk across campus in the
For
morning in the
sure.
freezing cold, it's not easy to do.
No, no, it's yeah, so yeah, we're a morning operation, so everything we do is in the morning. When we're training in the off season, I would say 4 days a week we're training at 6 a.m. We try to push them back at times in the winter months just for depending on what we're doing.
Yeah,
But we're up and going and we're cleats on tied and on the field ready to run at 5:55 in the morning. So we're doing that right now, 4 days a week, and the other day we're starting at 7. So these guys have a really committed schedule, a demanding schedule that's going to demand a lot of you outside those hours you're
yeah,
training to make sure you're present and ready to go. But that is certainly something that we are, if you're playing Division I football, that's expected. And
yeah.
but like you said, showing up on time, ready to work with the right attitude,
Right.
I think is the most important thing.
You know, you said 5:55 cleats on. And for those guys who got to get taped up and wrapped up and ready to go, what time
Yeah.
are they getting there?
Yeah, I mean, we have some of our guys right now. I'll pull in at 5 a.m. and we have some of our like strong leaders. I mean, they are here at 4:55 in the morning, 4:50, and they're here like going through their process of in the tubs, rolling out whatever they have to do in the training room to get themselves ready to go. And I think you find that the veterans, the ones that have been around, they come a lot earlier and they know that it takes a level of discipline to be at your best.
Yeah,
The younger guys have trouble understanding that in the beginning. They think the next 10 minutes is gonna
yeah,
it's gonna provide some awakening and new feeling of uh, rest, but it's not. And you're trying to instill that, and hopefully your leadership is strong enough where they learn that like, hey, like getting up and getting going, you'll get it on the back end, but right now
yeah,
you gotta get there and be present.
yeah. So you talked about leadership. You were named team most valuable player.
Mhm.
Talk about that. Like that is a once in a lifetime thing to have to be voted that, named that. You know, talk about that for a second. What did that mean to you?
Yeah, I think um, at that point in my life as a player, I was big on just visualizing success personally and in writing things down of where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, whether it was in the next day or the next year or 4 years, 5 years. And that was something, for me as a player, I always set out to do things within our program here, whether it was being the main man, which was a word we have about for strength and conditioning, or when it's being the MVP of the team. I think that's certainly an outcome, but that comes from a lot of the work you put in. And yeah, to be recognized by my coaches, and I was a captain here in my senior year. To be named captain for my teammates, these are all things. These are all things like if I take myself back to that time in my life, I wanted to play at the University of Maine. I'd come up here as a young kid to watch games. Um, not all of the games, but I went to a handful of games, and that was something I aspired to do. So to be on the field, I can remember the first time I ran on the field to play a football game here in Alphonse Stadium, and we had a home opener against Monmouth. I had an out of body experience in terms of just being on the field with guys I had watched from the stands a couple years earlier. And now I'm on the field with them, and they're rooting for me. I'm rooting for them. We're brothers, and we're going to play football. So the University of Maine is really ingrained in who I am, and playing football here is a big part of my identity. And so being able to go through that experience here as a player, um, and to actually contribute and be on the team was, that was a tremendous honor.
I can only imagine. Now, explain. A lot of people might wonder what the heck's up there. Like what is up in Orono, Maine? Like why
Yeah,
would guys go up there?
yeah.
And I remember when I went up there, I'm like, what the hell is going on up here, right? And a Jersey guy going to Orono, Maine, it's like a culture shock, right? But you end up falling in love with the place. Can you talk about that? Like how when the freshmen come on and they get entrenched with the team, the atmosphere, the environment. the family, the brotherhood mentality. What's it like to go to school in Orono, Maine and play there?
Yeah, I think number one, Maine football has a long history. This is our 133rd year of football. So Maine football started in 1892. There's been a long history and of football players coming through here, and I think so to start, it's a program with great bones and it's got a lot of great tradition within it. So, coming here, you have a rivalry game that you play. There's a lot of pieces here that you can lean on that great football programs have. We represent the whole entire state of Maine. We're a flagship school in the state of Maine. Um, but when you're here as a football student athlete, I think there's something about traveling to Orono, Maine. I say this all the time, like, when you get back in your car, we'll have recruits here, not one person is driving north.
Yeah,
Everyone's driving south. Now,
yeah.
we do have one player that drives north. We have a young man that's just here now. He's from Holton, Maine.
Okay.
Um,
Now,
but
where is that? How far up is that?
that's an hour and a half north of us right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
But
up
there
there.
is something special, I think, about the character it builds in making a commitment to driving to Orono, Maine, making a commitment to coming here. Um, And once you're here, based on just like demographics alone and population, majority of our team is from outside the state of Maine, and most of them are from that tri-state area, mid-Atlantic area out of high school, out to PA, Eastern Ohio, so to Western New York. So, I mean, there becomes that brotherhood of, you know, we're here together. We're here at the University of Maine together. I'm not going home on the weekends because I
Right.
can't go home. I'm here with
Yeah.
you. You're my family. So it creates that togetherness here. And that's something that we really do lean on is being together here, being committed to each other here. And I also think I look at it like this. I think the University of Maine is a sanctuary to be a student athlete. I think it's a place where you can come. Um, we have a positive uh, environment here, a positive environment where you can thrive as a student and you can thrive as an athlete. And I think that's what we've really been leaning on now. And I
Yeah.
think you're seeing that come out more. And there's guys, look at yourself, and there's something special in the water here.
Yeah. And when I look back on my time up there, um, it's just like nobody, no, like you said, nobody went home.
Mhm.
Like during on the weekends, there's a lot of schools that are like weekend warriors. They go home and they come back
Mhm.
during the week. I just remember everybody being around all the time.
Yeah.
And the environment was the party. The
Mhm.
school was the party, the fraternities, the football team. There wasn't like there was you didn't have to go anywhere to have
Mhm.
fun. You had it right there.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
went to Bangor once in a while to some things going on in there. But
Absolutely.
so football ended in Maine, but then you had a shot at the next level. Talk about that. You had a couple of shots. How did that go? What was your experience like? What did you learn from that you took into the coaching world?
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, I participated and worked really hard at pro day, and we had a pro day here, and I was able to get on with the Detroit Lions for a rookie mini camp. So I had a great experience there for that short time, and um, that was really another one of those experiences being from a small town in Maine to look at your helmet and it has an NFL logo on it, and
Yeah.
that's a pretty big moment, even though it was
Take a
short.
picture of it.
I do have a picture.
All
I
right,
do.
there you go.
Yeah, my parents have a picture of a practice photo they gave us before you left minicamp. So I
Okay.
thought that was pretty neat. But um and Dominican Sue was in the D line room. That was the year
Yeah.
he got drafted as well.
What was
So
that like?
I mean, yeah, like just kind of starstruck
Like
as
a god in the room.
yeah, yeah. And then you're doing drills with him. And on my final day there, they worked me on a linebacker. I remember coming back to the D line Indy, and he's like, what were you doing over there? He's just asking me, really curious. I was over with the linebacker. He's like, oh, they got you doing, he's asking me questions about that.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting, just his curiosity to wonder or his interest in
Yeah.
what I was doing. But um, yeah, Jim Schwartz was the head football coach there at the time. Yeah, just a great experience, like an eye-opening experience. I think that's one thing one of my strengths is like I'm able to pull a lot from all my experiences. I don't lose sight of them. I do some things get really cemented in me. And one of those was the defensive line coach that we had there. Just his passion. I remember just like his passion for football and how demanding he was at practice was something like I had never been exposed to. And it was something that I was just like enamored with. And I really like had a lasting impact on me. Um, so that was a great experience. I went on to play in the UFL with the Hartford Colonials later that summer. Um, and they got released right before the season. I played linebacker there. And then after that, like I really just had I think going back to that experience with the Lions, going back to experiences with you going back to experiences here as a student athlete working camps really piqued my interest to continue to stay in the game of football in
Right.
a coaching capacity.
Coaching's not for everybody,
Mm,
right? And you have so much time in front of you than behind you,
mhm.
right? I mean, you're really the way I look at it, you're still in the very beginning stages of a very long career that's going to go on and on and on. But what was it like to take the helmet off for the last time?
Yeah, football is a game you can't just pick up and play. It's not, you can't just grab someone and go play some tennis or like golf. It's a game that comes to an end for all that play it. And um, yes, sad moment. I think being a student athlete, being a football player, at the college level, there's nothing better.
Yeah.
Like even seeing the words together, college football, get me fired up. So
Yeah.
to be a college football player, that was those are the years that like we're talking about now, and I talked to a lot of alumni, and those 4 or 5 years of their lives were some of the most impactful and some of their best memories. And
Oh,
it's
yes.
it's from the game of football. So
Yeah.
taking it off for the last time, really sad moment,
Yeah.
but really proud moment in terms of all that me and my teammates had accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah. And some guys can't handle that identity shift.
Yeah,
I mean, you start playing at, I don't know, 7, 8 years old, and you go through to, 22, 23, 25, 28, if you make it to the next level, maybe longer, God willing. But then somewhere along the line, somebody tells you you're done. Like you don't really, very few guys get to choose when they're done,
yeah,
but it's usually somebody tells us we're done either physically, mentally, emotionally, or
right.
whatever. And that's tough. And some guys have a difficult time transitioning. But you made it back to Maine as an assistant coach. Talk about that. What was it like? You played there. Now you got to go back and coach. And I'm going to guess that some of the guys you were coaching were on your team. And now they got to look at you as a coach versus a teammate.
Yeah, and just to build off what you said, I mean, being that transition, I do remember your identity is as a football player. So then when that last game or comes to an end, there is a piece that's lost of,
Yeah.
that you lose. And I think that's a hard thing. And I think that's something for me now. I look at our players and we really try to get them around to our alumni to help with their identity and understand that they have more to them and there's more of a holistic approach there. Um, but yeah, so I had there was a moment I went down to Georgia, Jordan, the Georgia Force Arena Football League, and I think
Okay.
um, quickly realized I was the only player. This is right out of like that recession in '08,
Yeah.
and I was the only player on. They had just kickstarted the Arena Football League back up, and I was the only player on the roster there north of Virginia.
Okay.
So and just which is so it was a really cool experience, but at that point I was really leaning more towards moving forward with starting my coaching career, and so I really pursued that. There was an opportunity here at the University of Maine um, that I pursued, and was fortunate enough. Coach Cosgrove hired me, with
Did you
no.
have to really interview for it, or were you kind of like a slam dunk?
Yeah, there was no interview process for that,
No.
because I don't know what I would have even presented other than myself,
That's
here.
all you had to do.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I'm sure they had other guys in mind, but I, was fortunate enough to come here and be the, uh, you know, part-time position, full-time, but your part-time pay.
Yep.
working with the defensive line, working with the linebackers as well. You're essentially a GA, and I did
Yeah.
that for 2 years. So, that was I started with Joe Rossi, who's at Michigan State now as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Has had an incredible career. I worked underneath him, slept in his basement for a
Yeah.
year.
That's what you
So
got to do. You got to do what you
yeah,
got to do.
yeah. I mean, it was a great experience. I really just immersed myself in the profession, and it was a great experience.
So I got to ask you this. If I don't, I'm going to get in trouble. You mentioned before you met your wife at Maine,
Hmm.
and you know as well as I do, a wife of a football coach is not the typical wife,
Yeah,
right?
it's.
You got to have what I call a football wife,
Hmm.
which they understand the travel, the mornings, the recruiting, the phone calls, the craziness. Well, talk about how did you meet her, and how does she handle everything that you have to deal with?
Yeah, for those that listen, they'll know this spot well. But I met her at a Bear Brew. It was a restaurant bar uh, spot here in Orono. So she was a but more than that, one of my roommate, my teammate, was dating a girl, and she was that girl's roommate. So there was a little bit of a connection there. And yeah, we met just for my senior year. So she's from Augusta, Maine. So we're both from the state of Maine. She's not far from here either. So yeah, really neat to share our journey together, coming from the same location. I think that's a really unique situation, and something that we're excited to be back here and in this role, both having this be our alma maters. But certainly being a coach's wife is that is demanding. I think that um, a lot of unknowns in the beginning. I thought you'd have time off. I thought you'd be able to come here, go there.
Yeah,
There's you make a lot of sacrifices. And I think as you get going in the profession, I've been fortunate with my wife. She knows that this is my passion, and it's become her passion. And seeing us um, work hard to develop relationships with the players here, the work we put into this team, and the commitment, the sacrifices that you make. And when it's really their sacrifices. I'm doing what I love, but I think it's the sacrifices of a coach's wife that's really being made. Coaches are
yeah,
doing what they love to do. The family's the one that's sacrificing for the love, for your love of the game, and all that comes with it. And it's, like you said, it's certainly demanding.
yeah,
It's relentless, it's demanding, it's constant, it's consistent, and there's always something every day that's going to challenge you. So, I think that's what I love about it, but that's also what is the strain as
yeah.
well. And it can be at home.
And then the challenge, I'm going to guess from for being a football wife is you never know if the phone's going to ring.
Mhm.
And here's another opportunity to go over here. Now you got to pack up and move again.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
think it's almost we get numb to that as fans watching. Maybe you're watching like an NFL coach, or you're following like a college coach. You get numb to just, oh, they were at this school, and now they're at this school, now they're at this school, and it just seems like, oh, well, they're just at a different school. But that school is 1,000 mile away from the previous school, and then
Yeah,
the next year it was another move at another school. Um, and you have kids of your own, so what that's like. I mean, taking them out of schools and moving
yeah,
them to different locations. But then, for coaches, they got to be present at work. But
yeah,
there's also people at home who are going through difficult times
yeah,
because of the move you may have put them in, all to better their situation, all to better them. But at the moment, you're a kid, you don't care about
yeah,
that. You care about playing outside in the summer and
yeah,
going swimming. You're not
yeah.
worried about my dad's job.
No, no. But then again, I'm going to keep going back to the football wife because I want the world to understand like what goes
Yeah,
on
yeah,
behind the door, right?
yeah.
How big that is
Yeah.
because they got to pack up and move. But what they're moving away from too, because you got two little kids,
Hmm.
right? And I'm going to imagine when you were coaching at Yale, right? Your wife had her connections,
Hmm.
her support mechanisms, her people that could help her people that could get involved. She can drop off, do right. And then she's got to pick up and, okay, look, we're going to leave all that behind. We're going to move over here now, and we're going to start all over again.
Mhm.
That's got to be very difficult for the wife to handle that, in the very beginning.
For sure. And I think that's one thing when you are in this profession, you find a lot of great people in other coaches' wives who can share those similar stories. And I
Right.
think there's a whole community of coaches, football coaches' wives who at every stop that really provide that support for your wife for your
Yeah.
for being a mom, being a young mom,
Yeah.
being because like you're right. I mean, just the support system is the biggest thing. If you don't have that, then you're kind of on your own.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
and you're tied up in watching film, getting ready for an opponent to win a football game. And
Mm.
but that is a big part of it.
Yeah. So you had to walk into Coach Cos's office and say, Coach, I'm leaving. How did that go?
Yeah, that was gut wrenching. I look back on it, how it may seem silly how much of a big deal I made it now, but Maine was all I knew at that point.
Yeah.
So, wanted to go here, went to prep school, came here, played here, coached here, had two very good players in my position room, Trevor Bates, who was drafted in the seventh round, Pat Ricard, I coached here for 3 years. Um, he was in my position room, and I'm thinking I'm never going to get a good player again. These are the best players I have, and
Yeah.
I love those guys. And um, yeah, just a very comfortable place in a position I was in. So having an opportunity to go to Yale may have been looked at as like a lateral move, but I think um, yeah, the opportunity to grow and kind of get outside my comfort zone was really important. But going into Coach Kaz was hard. Yeah,
I
for
can only
sure.
imagine.
Yeah. He's one line he said to me, um, and I mean, I think I've told this to him since, but when I was talking to him about opportunities here, and he really wanted me to stay and felt like there'd be more opportunities here down the road for me, if I stayed. And one
Yeah.
of them could have been sitting in his seat. So like putting that in my head too made the decision that much more difficult. But he just said, once you leave, you're out of sight, out of mind. He's like,
Mm.
we have a football team here, we have coaches here, we're committed to those people here. And I don't think he meant it in any like dismissive way, other than like I'm focused on this football team. But like for me, that sat with me like
That's
hard
gotta hurt.
for probably 3 years. I was like, it would
Yeah.
come to me at times
Oof.
because I'm looking back at me, and but yeah, that was a tough one.
Because he's a hard guy to tell no to,
For sure.
right?
Yeah, he really is. Yeah.
And I think I forget what year it was. It might have been my junior year. He was an assistant coach. He was like 26 years old, 27, I
Yeah.
don't even know. And I remember his personality was no different than it is now. Very intense, but always smiling, and it seemed like he was
Yeah.
always in a good mood.
Oh man, he's very consistent. That's one thing I learned just being an assistant here. I mean, he's the same person every day. And I
Yeah,
think it's his enthusiasm, his passion, his love of players, really is something that I was fortunate to watch and
yeah.
observe.
And I'm sure a lot of it rubbed off.
I hope so. Like I think, um, yeah, like I think he resonated with a lot of our players. I think his ability to just be consistent with the coaches too. I think that's really important.
Yeah,
Uh, it's a profession where you're around each other 12, 14 hours a day, and you have people you want on that bus,
yeah.
people that are
What do
going
you
to.
what do you think's the number one thing you learned from him?
Number one, how important it is to be organized. Uh,
Mm,
how important it is to be a great communicator on the field. Um, Whenever we had a workout, we'd come back and really dissect the workout and talk about, hey, this drill should have been moved over here. You got to back this drill up. This is not safe. You got to have this drill over here. Always make sure you're finishing on a line. Don't have the guys finishing into the wall. I want them finishing out here. So like the detail went into being a great position coach. Something that he always took pride in, coaching up the coaches on how to go about those details in the organization. So that was something. I got to sit right next to him for 3 years, for 4 years, and I sat right next to where he was in staff meetings. So I got to see him be really meticulous with his organizational skills, his plan, his vision, and communicate that to the staff.
So you go to Yale, right? And you built a powerhouse down there, right? You win the Ivy League title. Talk about that as and you grew from an assistant up to the assistant head coach, defensive coordinator. That's some major moves.
Hmm.
For those who are listening, like going from an assistant up to that top, there's only one more spot to go, right? It's the head
Right.
coach.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
the assistant head coach, D coordinator. You're in charge of half of the team of what's going on in the game, right? Talk about that progression. And that was, it happened pretty quick. It wasn't like you were there 25 years to make that happen. You got there pretty quick.
Yeah. Being at Yale, Yale is the one of the winningest. It is the winningest FCS program, uh, in college football history, and it's top 10 in all of college football, Division I football. And there's a lot of history there. I mean, there's Heisman Trophy winners there. There's national championships there. It's where the game of football began. I mean, four downs started from Walter Camp at at Yale. So a lot of tradition, a lot of expectations in terms of performing. And I think from the time I got there, really working with Tony Reno, and I didn't have a relationship with him prior. I had a relationship with Steve Vashel, who was an assistant coach here. I had a relationship with Kevin Cahill, who's the head coach at Lehigh now.
Hmm.
Kevin Cahill was here as an assistant, and then went on to have, I think he was there for almost 12 years with Tony Reno. Now as the head coach at Lehigh. But being there, and being able to be, I was with a head coach with Coach Cosgrove, who was on his 20th year. Then I go to a coach who was in his third year as a head coach. So really a lot of differences there in terms of involvement, hands-on, um, and just being a presence,
Yeah.
in what we're doing schematically, how we're doing things. So um, I think, I always think that those are my most formidable years because I was forced to articulate myself and communicate on a higher level and be able to explain what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and how I'm doing it to our head coach. Um, at times I probably, am wondering why he's asking, but looking back at it now, I think, how much better that made me. And I
Yeah.
think being taking your feelings out of situations, not taking things personal, which you do when you're young. But as you mature, you realize it's all about just, we're trying to it's all about the team and being the best for the team. So, yeah, really formidable years there. I was really proud of like the work we did in recruiting, and being able to take Yale back to a championship in 2017 and in 2019. And from there, Tony's run. I think he's won three more championships. So they've had a tremendous amount of success, and we had a real system on how we did that.
And then you coached against two other Black Bear coaches,
Yes.
but Buddy Stevens and Murphy,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Yeah. We
So,
did not have a good record versus Coach Stevens, but when I
yeah,
was in,
right. So,
yeah.
but I mean, he was one of my coaches,
Right.
back at Maine, and
Yeah.
so was Murphy.
Right.
You
Okay.
know,
Yes. Yeah. You had
so
both of them.
Murphy was back in, I forget it. He was an assistant under Buddy, I think.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then when Buddy left, then he took over. I can't remember, it was so long ago. And I
Yeah.
think he took over. But what was it like? Did they know who you were when you were coaching at Yale against them?
They might have known just from recruiting, and that's the thing that becomes really competitive in the Ivy League is I mean, if we're recruiting a guy, he could have a Harvard offer, he has a Princeton offer, and we're all recruiting the same
Same
guys.
guys.
Yeah, so like you get to know the other staffs very well because you
Right.
know who's recruiting that guy, and more than
Okay.
the CAA, I would
Yep.
say. Like we're not recruiting the same guys as everyone in our conference here at
Right.
Maine. But there you're all recruiting the
Same guy.
same guys, so you got to learn who the coach was. So they may have known who I was through that. But I have
Yeah.
talked to Coach Murphy, and since then, just through getting the job here. I
Yeah.
talked to him when I got the job here.
Yeah. So this is a crazy question. I probably shouldn't ask you this, but I'm going to ask you because you probably don't want to give me an answer. But was the expectations greater to win at Yale than at Maine when you were coaching the first time, or do you think it was the same?
When I was an assistant to then being an assistant at Yale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the expectations to win at Yale were higher. Yeah,
Okay.
and that was because of Yale had fallen on some hard times. They hadn't beaten Harvard since 2006. I was there for the when I was on the staff that when we beat Harvard in 2016. It had been 10 years. Um, so they had fallen on some hard times. So the urgency and the demand to win was much greater.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that was more from the fans or administration or both?
Probably more alumni,
Yeah.
alumni, and I think Tony did a great job of creating that environment as well
Right.
to perform and but really never losing sight of development.
Yeah. So, what's the top thing you learned at Yale that you brought with you to Maine?
Being a head coach, the top thing I learned is just the holistic approach to being a head coach, and working to develop every aspect of our players. So that's athletically, academically, and personally. And that's something that I'm passionate about. And um, I saw that done at an elite level at Yale. So like, when you talk about alumni involvement, it's at an elite level. When you talk about exposure to different professions, that's done very well.
Right.
And but also, um, so I got to learn the holistic approach of, running a program. I also got really deep into how to recruit certain athletes, what we're looking for. Hey, we're looking for these measurements, but we're also looking for this character, and combining those. I thought we had a really good and developed a really good system of how to recruit. And we stuck to that. And I think Coach Reno did a great job of demanding that and holding that standard. And that's what you have to do as a head coach is hold that standard and make sure you're getting the best guys you can
Mm.
get into the program. So I learned, that holistic approach and really how to recruit, and find guys that you want, not just because they have other offers. Because when we first started, when my first 3 years there, we weren't beating Harvard on a recruit. We weren't beating Princeton on a recruit. We might here and there.
Right.
So we really focused more on um, finding guys that were the right ones that we wanted, and that was based on athletic ability. We'll find the position they'll play later, but we want to
Yeah.
get some athletes in here and guys that love football, and we were able to do that, and that was really what turned the corner.
So, what was it like going up to Maine to interview for the job? Now, did you even have to interview for the job? Was it a slam dunk, or was it a tough interview process? And when they said you got the job, how the heck were you feeling then?
Yes. So when Joe Harris-Simiak left here in 2018, right after the season, the tremendous season that they had,
Yep.
making it to the semifinals, um, there was probably a 24-hour point when there was an interim head coach, and I had spoken to the AD that hired me, Ken Ralph, and I had spoken to him at that point. But there was already moving in a direction which with in-house candidate Nick Charlton, who became the head coach. But I do feel like, just being able to get my name in the mix at that point helped me later on, in terms of someone to call once the job opened again. And I think the one thing that was validated when I was named the head coach here was all the relationships I had here, from relationships with coaches, for the players I coached, my teammates. Those are the things that got validated. It's how you treat people, how kind you are, how
Mm.
you are to work with, um, just the simple things and the things that you're taught at a young age, but hard to hold on to through all of it. I think those are the things that got validated to me on why I got the job here, because people knew my character and knew what I stood for and knew what I was going to bring to the table when they hired me, and they knew what I'd be consistent on. And I hope I've lived up to that. When I got named the head coach, I was I knew I was going to get a call. Well, I went through an interview process. I didn't come on campus because we're in COVID at that point. So I didn't come to campus. Everything was through Zoom. And I was in Pittsburgh seeing a recruit. I'd already gone through the interview process. I got on the plane and got on the recruiting trip knowing like I might have to cut this whole trip, this whole week short if I get a call. So I got there. I scheduled my first meeting that morning really early, like 7 a.m. meeting at a high school, North Allegheny High School. I did it early because I was supposed to get a call at 9 a.m. And I had at that point I had been through the interview process and they had interviewed other candidates as well. But I got back to my hotel room like at 9 and got set up and just had the phone in front of me. And when I got the call, I mean, yeah, out of body experience in terms,
Yeah.
just that euphoric feeling of, a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice for the people around me as well. And, feeling like, wow, like I'm gonna be the head coach. Always something I thought of myself in, but again, to have that come to a reality, just an amazing feeling and an honor, really. And I think I only got choked up when I called my mom. And she said that she was really happy and proud of me.
I
So,
can only imagine,
yeah, so that was
right?
it was really cool. Yeah.
So then you had to go into the Yale coach to tell him you're leaving. How did that go?
Yeah. Yeah, that one was a little easier. Yeah, that one was a little easier. Coach Reno was really fired up for me.
Did he know you were looking or?
Well, yeah, he knew I wasn't even really looking. I got a call when I was on the road the previous week. This all moved in like a week's time,
Yeah.
so as soon as I got a call from their AD, the University of Maine athletic director, I notified him. So he knew this was a possibility, but he was, very supportive.
Yeah.
And again, like, because I was quick to move. It wasn't, I wasn't hanging out for a week.
Yeah.
And this is a fault of mine at times, is just like, I got the job and I was like, I have to be there the next day. So I flew home, um, flew back to Newark, drove up to New Haven,
Yeah.
and then the next day I drove here to the University of Maine. So it was very quick in terms
When
of,
you're the head guy, you got to be there,
yeah, yeah.
right?
I
So,
probably could milked it and been in the moment a little bit more, but um, as soon as I landed in Newark, I was on doing media calls the entire ride home. I think I was in traffic for 2 hours, but for 2 hours straight, I was on media calls. And I think that's when it hit me. The weight of the job hit me was when I got asked, uh, "So what makes you qualified to be a head coach?" And that question, I was like, I was just stumped. I'm like, I don't know. This is what I am, though. This is where we're at, and I'm gonna put
yeah.
everything into it.
But you know what you did, Jordan, is you set the tone, you set the standard when you got the job. If I'm a alum, right? And if I would have heard, well, hey, Jordan got the job, but he's been a week, he's not here yet. He's still kind of, doing whatever he's doing. Like I'm
Yeah,
like, what? Like, what do you mean he's not here yet?
yeah,
To
yeah,
show up that next day, you set the tone for
yeah.
everybody else. Like this guy's here
Hmm.
to rock and roll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that set the tone and the standard for what you're building.
Yeah, I think that's something that for me, it's like that's at every point for me. That's at every point in everything I do. Like our guys came back. Our guys had some time off for the 4th of July, and they're back here Monday morning, and I'm ripping and roaring, ready to go. Like we're
Yeah.
about to we're out for
Yeah.
the first game, so I have to measure that at times. But I do think being present, having an urgency, and as a leader, you set the pace.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
So, what's the recruiting like now? I mean, the world is on fire, transfer portals going nuts. The rules change. It seems like every week things are changing. As a head coach, how do you handle all that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been then being here at the University of Maine is another layer to that. Just again, going back to guys who want to be a part of what we have here, the right fit. That all that is changing since I've gotten a job here, and I think this is for every coach. But just being here at Maine and getting started, the recruiting calendar, the rules, they've changed every year I've been here.
Right.
So that continuously changes. Um, I think it's really taught all of us as coaches to be able to adapt and just kind of go with what the rules are and what the timelines are and hit the ground running. Now, I've definitely been on the end where I've given out the wrong information, because I'm getting information and I'm telling the staff this is what it is. Then I'm coming back the next week. Hey, things have changed. It's going to
Right.
be, in this direction. So just having some grace, I think, with everyone during this time and just knowing like, hey, as long as we're talking to recruits, we're building our boards. We'll find a way to get guys that are meant to be here. And we had an official visit in June. At the end of June, that was the first time we've done that here. That's something that the FBS level has been going on for really 3 or 4 years. But that has trickled down to our level, and we were able to do that this year in June. I thought that was, I mean, it's very beneficial. But that was something going into it. I'm like, are we doing the right thing? Is this like make sure we get the right guys here that
Yeah.
making decisions right now. We can't be spending money because, if these guys aren't making a decision until December, we don't want to have them up right now.
Yeah.
So all these things you're kind of weighing, but you're vetting, and as the head coach, you're asking the questions to make sure you're putting the team and the program in the best position. And it worked out right well. We had an awesome official visit weekend. We had we were almost 100% on commitments during that weekend, and really just um, I'm excited about where it's going. And
Yeah.
so I think there's going to be one transfer portal window. I don't know that for sure yet. They're coming out with that, but all that's going to help just calm the waters a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the changes are just they're. I think they got to start putting some guardrails on something. You can't just move team to team to team. I mean,
Yeah,
you spend all this time, energy, and effort recruiting this young man. You give him money to come, and because he's not stepping on the field day one, I don't like it here. I'm out.
yeah,
Yeah, like that's
yeah.
got to stop.
I think, probably 10 years ago, the character piece might have been talked about, but not vetted at
Yeah,
the depth it is now, because you want to make sure you're getting the right people,
yeah,
because they can leave, and they have the right to do that, and they, are able to go to a different school if they don't like their circumstances. So finding guys that have a little bit more purpose to what they do, their
yeah,
values line up with our values, their parents' values line up with my values. So they're hearing the same things at home, they're hearing
yeah,
here, and I have a relationship with the parents through recruiting. That's important. So they know my character and know when things might not be going well for their son, that, hey, you need to trust the process, trust what they're doing there. We know
yeah,
that they are going to put you in the best position. All those, I mean, but then again, do you have time to do all those? I think you do at the high school level, at the transfer level, you got to move fast.
yeah,
So, but you got to make sure you're diligent on calling references, calling and finding out who each young man is you're bringing to your program. Because
yeah,
if not, like you said, I mean, you don't have to be here, and Maine's not going to work if it's that transactional.
yeah. Well, I got the solution. Bring in the military policy. West Point. If you leave, you pay it back. Right? If these guys come play for you for 2 years and say, I'm leaving, okay, no problem, you can leave. But the last 2 years we paid for, you got to pay us back.
Yeah.
You think people would change their mind on leaving?
I'm sure they would. I'm sure they
Yeah.
would. Yeah, at that point. That's
You
been
know?
talked about, that's been brought up in conference meetings. Those are the conversations going on. That's the conversations going on between coaches and administrators, and trying to find a solution to
Yeah.
protecting, our schools, protecting our teams. And yeah, that's the ongoing battle.
It's
You know?
tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, but you see some of these kids transferring 3, 4 times.
Yeah, I don't know how that's healthy in any way.
It's
Uh,
not.
I don't know how you learn more from going through hard times and coming out.
Yeah.
And even I talked about, like, something good is going to come from committing yourself to something. It might not
Yeah.
be starting. You might not ever start, but you
Yeah.
learn more about yourself through committing to something that you put your name on, and you gave your
Yeah.
heart to.
But if
Something
you
good will
leave,
come.
but if you leave every year, how do you build a relationship with anybody?
Yeah, you don't have a home base, and I think that's important. Going back to why I got this job here, because I had an alma mater, I had a network. I have a network that recognize the hard work I put in,
Yeah.
and I have a home to come back to. I have people that when I come back here, I know, it's hard if you're moving around, you don't have a home, to always go back to.
Yeah. Yeah, you grow no roots,
Correct. Yeah.
and but yeah, I hope it changes, but it just puts you guys in such a tough spot, and like you said, when in the transfer portal, you got to move like quick, make a
Right.
decision, and hope you make the right one, and you can't second guess it.
Yeah. I mean, our time is really, our time is when we're not coaching football, when we're not developing our own players, we're spent, which it should be recruiting, but more
Mhm.
here is, you're hosting recruits on campus, and there's
Yeah,
a lot more official visits going on um,
yeah.
than there ever was.
So the season's right around the corner.
Yes, yeah,
What's it
excited.
looking like? What are you excited about? What are you jacked up over?
I'm excited. Well, number one, just culturally, our team, just seeing how they move and how they move together, and seeing how that's progressed. I thought last year we had some really strong leaders, like vocal leaders, and you might have spoke to one. Cooper Heisey was one
Yep.
of our guys
Yep.
here who was, became a tremendous leader. John Costanza was our other captain. There's many
Yep.
more.
I spoke to him too.
Yeah, Montego Moss, and there's many guys in that class that uh, even guys that started and finished here, and Montego Moss is a great example of that. I mean,
Yeah.
with his name, he had plenty of opportunities to transfer and go somewhere else and
Now,
stayed.
did he make it with the Vikings or no?
I don't think he stuck with them.
No.
And but I think, that was a great opportunity for him, and
Yeah.
um, I'm hoping he gets on somewhere else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think right now, really excited about what the team is in terms of culture, how they work, how they go about their business. Um, excited about our returners on offense and up front in our offensive line. I think we've done a great job recruiting and getting bigger up front and getting more like bodies there. Our quarterback, Carter Peavy, who was our starter last year,
Yep.
second in the conference in passing yards and in efficiency, is back again this year, and
And
excited.
he's a Jersey guy, right?
He's Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah,
I think
Georgia
he's a
guy.
Jersey guy.
He's a
Okay.
transfer from Mercer.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll have his MBA at the end of
Nice.
the fall. So he's been a great leader. Yeah, I think one of the things I'm most excited about is just the competition we have at all positions.
Yeah.
And seeing that, like today, it hit me outside when I was watching the guys run, because again, we're still solidifying, some of those bigger voices on the team. So I was looking around and just like, but there's a lot of guys who haven't played, or if they played, they haven't played here at Maine.
Yeah.
So it's everyone's, kind of just uh eyes forward, working hard, competing, and excited about, our home opener at Liberty. I mean, sorry, our opener at Liberty.
That's a big one,
That is.
right? What was it like going to Oklahoma last year?
Yeah, Oklahoma was that was like it's like football heaven, number
Yeah.
one.
Right.
It's like football heaven out there. 80,000 people. The grass was neon green.
Yep.
Um, to be in an SEC stadium, Oklahoma. I mean, it doesn't get any cooler than
The
that.
history is just incredible there.
Yeah, like that was really a pretty cool.
Was the Boz there?
I didn't see him. I
No.
didn't see him. No.
All
Uh,
right.
but it was a neat experience. I thought the way our guys competed was, it was very admirable how we
Yeah.
competed, and something to be proud of. And we were up 7-0 after the first quarter.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
held them tight.
yeah, yeah. I think a lot of good performances by a lot of our guys.
Right.
And it came at an odd time in November. I think there was 4 games in November last year. I thought that was a little bit of a hump for us to get over post game, going into our final 3 weeks. Um, but it's something we learned from, and we
Right.
learned from, that experience, and one we can take with us to grow this year.
Did you get banged up a little bit or no?
We did not, I know
Yeah.
that was a concern of probably our coaches and people outside the program. And yeah, our guy, we were healthy out coming out of that game. And
That's
that's
great.
that's another win in itself.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is your fourth year?
Yeah, going into my 4th year.
Okay. So now the team is yours.
Yeah,
This is your 4 years of recruiting,
for sure.
right?
Yes.
How does that feel?
Feels like everyone can I feel more of an authenticity from the entire team of being themselves and um, it's even seeing some of our guys here. To me, it just reaffirms like trust in the process
Yeah.
because we'll have conversations about guys who are came in as a 215-pound defensive end. And I'm looking at them now, and they're 250 pounds. But for the last 2 years, we're constantly talking about these guys in terms of putting on weight, getting bigger, getting stronger,
Yeah.
and it does happen. And now this, I can think of one young man, Chris Bacon, he's got 3 years left. So it's like everything's in front of him, and so I'm excited about for me sitting in my seat of me trusting myself and trusting that process and trusting our system and our
Yeah.
evaluations.
Let me ask you this silly question. Is Are you more proud of your accomplishments now, like what you've done over the last 4 years, right? Or are you more proud of the accomplishment of just being named a head coach?
Yeah, I think well, so to speak on being proud of the work we've done, I just think we have so much more work to do. We improved our wins last year, and it's not all about but it does come down to that, and it comes down to that, and I think we've grown a lot. So, um, when you look at our team, I'm proud of how much they've bought into what we're doing, and I'm proud of the character of the people we have here. We just had our best academic year in program history since maybe when you were here we had a better one. They didn't start
I don't think so.
recording it. They didn't start
No.
recording it until 1988. So
All right, they don't have mine.
1988, we had a cumulative whole year GPA of over 3.0, which is huge. And so I think those things fire me up. I'm proud
Yeah,
of that. I'm proud of the people we have here. I'm proud of the work they put in and their ability to trust the process. It's our jobs as coaches now to put them in a position to be successful on the field.
yeah,
But like stepping back, I'll reflect back at some point and just being able to be named the head coach here. That does hit me. That's probably a 1 week thing, or maybe like an every other day thing. That I do remind myself that I'm the head football coach here, and
crazy, isn't it?
yeah, it's yeah, it is crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a very like I Coach Kaz. If you asked him, he'd be like, I don't know if he speaks. I never heard him talk when he was a player. Then like
But how do you become MVP and the captain and you never speak? Come on. You
yeah,
had to
yeah,
speak in your
no.
own way.
Yeah, like there's a couple moments I think I shifted the room maybe as a player when I said something. I know like, there's a couple instances where I spoke up when I felt like we needed to, and that's always the case with a quiet uh guy who leads by example.
Yeah,
But I think just more so nowadays, like you can't just be a lead by example. You gotta have a vocal
yeah,
presence to you. And that's something that like we have a leadership group. We're really intentional and just in terms of the naming of these. It's not a committee, it's not a council. This isn't a political group. This is a leadership group. We have leaders amongst the team, and really, I want these guys to speak up. I want them to have a voice, and we do that in team meetings. We get them speaking because that development,
yeah.
is so important to be
Huge.
able to express yourself.
Yeah,
But I had the moment even like as a young coach where I'm like, all right, I can't just my efforts aren't just going to get me by here. Like I'm gonna need to learn how to communicate at a higher level.
yeah,
So I'm all about growing. I'm all about getting better and improving. Um, trusting that process, having a level of vulnerability within the program that starts with me. Um, putting myself out there in front of my team is important, so they feel like comfortable doing that as well. Um, developing those relationships, I think, has really benefited the young men here, and um, that's been it's hugely beneficial to the development of our players here. So, yeah, proud of both. Yeah.
okay, good. Well, there's one thing we got to fix.
What's
What do you
that?
think that is? We got to get a kid out of Caldwell High School in New
I
Jersey to come up
know.
there. I'm the last one that's ever been there.
Who is it? Where was Mike Geftig from? Was he from?
I
Do you
don't
remember
know.
Mike?
What's his
He was
last
from.
name?
I think he's from. I went to. I think he went to Essex. Is there an Essex?
There's West Essex. So
West Essex.
was
That's
he
where he
from
went.
Essex Fells?
I think he was from Caldwell,
North Caldwell?
North Caldwell.
Yeah, so North Caldwell goes to West Essex, different high school.
Gotcha.
There are New Hampshire.
Okay.
Yeah, and we couldn't stand them. But I'm like, I can't believe out of all these years, not one kid
Yeah,
has gone up there. And they've had some good teams.
we gotta make it happen.
The one kid, I think I took, man, I don't know if I sent it to you. Harry Boland, remember that kid?
Yes.
He went to Monmouth and he ended up leaving Monmouth. He's playing lacrosse at Tampa now.
Oh, okay.
And he was a sharp kid.
Yeah.
But we got to get one. Come on.
Yeah, we can find one. We
You know
can
what I
find
mean?
one.
We got
Yeah.
to find one. But they're getting the school's getting smaller and smaller, and so we were group three when I played. They dropped to group two. I think they're down to group one now.
Oh, wow.
They're
Yeah.
getting small.
Yeah, it's so interesting how these certain communities, especially where you live, I mean, just such big populations, but some
Yeah,
schools could be getting smaller.
yeah, it's
How's that
nuts.
happen?
So you're leaving a legacy, or let me take that back. You're creating a legacy right
Hmm.
now. You're not going to be there forever, right? Hopefully, you're there for 25 years. You win all kinds of championships and what have you. But there's going to come a day where it's time to, I'm no longer a head coach at University of Maine.
Hmm.
How do you want to be remembered whenever that day comes? If it's tomorrow or if it's 30 years from now, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Yeah, I think number one, want to leave behind, at least be able to walk away and say, I left it better than I found it.
Mm,
And I think in every aspect of um of the program, whether that and that will be noticed in, the young men that are walking around here, when that time comes, is the type of people that we've impacted, and the players that we've impacted. Um, I think that's really what I want to leave, is just like leave it better than I found it
yeah,
in every aspect of the program. And and within that is knowing that I put the players first.
right.
I think that's something that I've been really consistent with, is providing them an opportunity and an experience that is a positive one, um, and demanding that they come together as a team and build relationships with each other. So, um, really just focused on developing the players and giving them an experience that they can be proud of.
Yeah. It's the culture.
Yes.
It's you're changing the culture to a we versus me,
Hmm.
right? And that's not easy
Absolutely.
to do. You
I
know?
mean, number one thing, and we talk about, is just like humility. I mean, you have to have just a level of humility to be here at Maine,
Yeah.
because we're not going to be able to feed your ego. I don't have the resources or the energy to feed your ego. Like, but if you're a selfless person, and you care about football, this is a great place for you. And I try to convey that as much as I can on the front end in recruiting. Um, that this is a place where, if you're a humble guy, and you want to work hard, this place can provide everything and even more,
Yeah.
to help you, in your career and in the game of
Right.
football.
It's all about the culture.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. Absolutely. And that
So
can be
Jordan,
noticed very quickly.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
it takes years to build. It can be ruined in a day,
Yes.
and I don't think that's happening up there though. I don't think you're ruining anything up there. I think you're building something special. There's a vibe. You can see it, in the alumni getting together. I see all this stuff in the group chat, all this stuff that's happening. There's a cool vibe, and the school's putting the money in over time to build even better facilities. So everybody's like involved,
Yes. Yeah.
which is great. So Jordan, we talked about a lot of stuff. Your playing days, your assistant coaching days, your Yale days, your head coaching days, recruiting. You know, is there anything we haven't touched on and you think we should hit before we wrap it up?
I think the one message, we're consistent on here is just, and what I've really clung on to since I got here in 2006 is being in one direction, and that's something that was left here by one of our coaches in Jeff Cole.
Yep.
Um, but we've done more to dive into that here, and this one direction mantra is really our purpose. And if you were to ask our players, I think they know that, and it represents family, and that's what we're creating here is a family. It's a job of a leader to bring people together. Harder to do in these times, but physically bring people together and create relationships. I listened to a talk by Billy Donovan, um, and talked about your legacy is your relationships with each other,
Mm.
and how are your teammates going to refer to you or talk about you to their grandchildren, and that's what we want to keep in mind, and I always say, like, start with the end in mind. And that kind of is like legacy, like starting with the end
Yeah.
in mind. And just really excited about the environment we have here, the positive environment we have here, um, for players and coaches to come here and grow and learn, and excited about big things to come for Maine football.
Well, I'm excited for the season, and yeah, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your crazy day because as a head coach, it's nonstop from waking up to going to bed, right? And jumping on here and telling your story, which is a phenomenal story that there's no better place to be than home,
Hmm.
right? And you're
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
you know, and
No.
and and you're doing a great job. You're changing the trajectory of what's going on up there. And it's fun to watch from a guy down here in Jersey who played up there a million years ago, just to sit down here and watch what's going on. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I can't thank you enough for having me on. This why I do this is for guys like yourself. I want to make our alumni proud. I want to make our fans proud, our families, and to be a part of this program. And I want people to walk around when you have your Maine football gear on, you're proud of that. And
Oh yeah.
it's our job is to continue that. Um, but really appreciate talking to you. This has been great, and
Yep.
love to be on again sometime.
Yeah. Well, let's get you on after the winning season. We win that championship. Let's get you back on.
Let's go.
All right, man. Hey,
Yeah,
listen, I look forward to seeing you up on campus soon.
Jeff, thank you so much.
You got it.